Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about vibes and benchmarks and why user feedback is more important than anything else. Okay, so let's dive in. You might have been there. Like, you have this amazing model that scores really, really well, but when you give it a try, it might be different. My name is Pierre. I am the co-founder and CEO of Strapi. If you're not familiar with Strapi, it is the leading open source headless content management system. If you need to build a website or an application with a front-end framework like React or Vue.js, you'll more likely need to manage the content. And that's what we do. Strapi is the leading open source headless CMS with more than 70,000 stars on GitHub. It's used all over the world by many, many companies, so feel free to give it a try. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of evals and more importantly, user feedback. We'll start with the benchmark value disconnect. We'll continue with the importance of evals, and we will introduce this new concept of vibe benchmarking. And last but not least, we will illustrate all of this with a real-world example that I really look forward to sharing with you. Okay, so let's talk about the value benchmark disconnect. You might have seen this new model scoring really, really well. And when you try it for your product, for an agent that you might be building, you might get very, very good results. And that's the only thing I wish to you all. But sometimes the value is not there, or maybe not for everything. And sometimes it's even worse than that. Like, you try this new model, but you get very bad results. And that's a bummer. So there are a few reasons behind this. The first one is that data contamination really hurts. And what I mean with data contamination is really that the model creators, they often fine-tune their models based on the benchmarks. Now that most of these benchmarks are public, the model creators can tweak their models accordingly. And so this results in the second bullet point, which is the sensitivity to alterations. So in these benchmarks, there's a lot of prompts, but if you alter this prompt a little bit, you can get slightly different results. And that's a bummer, because if a benchmark is about code quality generation, but as soon as you tweak the prompts a little bit, you get very different results. That's not going to work, because your users, if you're building a vibe coding tool, for example, they will have very different prompts. And you want to make sure the model would be good at ideally all of these prompts. And last but not least, there is a very strong misalignment of incentives. A few years ago, the models were created by independent research labs, but very large corporations are now building most of these very big models. And so they really want to score high in benchmarks because they can make a lot of money out of them. So more recently, we've seen these new gold labels, which on paper look like a stronger source of truth, but they come with some issues. The first one is that they are very expensive to run. And even more importantly, the results become really quickly obsolete. They have their own biases, so it does not really work. What we've seen working better recently are benchmarks like the Werewolf benchmarks, like some LLMs are playing together. Another one is the chatbot arena, where some people evaluate different models, and this gives more realistic results. So at the end of the day, I think we've all been there. Like, we start playing with models for 15 minutes. We see what we like and what we don't like. And then we take a look at this amazing benchmarks, at these new models, and so on and so on. But at the end of the day, we go back to the few prompt that we have. And this brings me to the second section, which is evals. So you might have heard about evals. Like, everybody's talking about them. So they're probably useful. But let's see what evals really are. So if we take a look at the definition, AI evals are structured methods for measuring and assessing the performance, reliability, and safety of artificial intelligence models and systems. So are they unit tests? Good question. I think it's still a very good comparison, but I think there are so much more than that. They have their own specificities. First of all, in the web development, in the development world in general, unit tests are very deterministic. But LLMs can give very different results. Like if you ask an LLM to create a React component, for example, you'll get slightly different results. But the outcomes might be good anyway. It's like asking humans to do things, and there might be many good answers. It depends on the question. These evals can be manual or they can be automated, and they can run offline, so on your computer as an engineer, or online. There's a lot of tools for that. So if we deconstruct the evals a little bit, there are 4 main items that are really important. The first one is a data set. So the data set is typically a list of inputs, which can be questions, and expected outputs, which are typically the result. There's also the evaluator. So it can be, the evaluator can be human, it can be an LLM, we'll go through this. And there is also a mode to evaluate this. We're going to dig into this. And then there is a task. So the task is typically a question. And then there is interpretation, which are the results from the eval. And so if we really take a look at what evals look like in code, for example, so we see that there is a data set, which here is a list of one question, which country has the highest population, and the expected outcome is China. Then there is a task, and this task is typically a call to your own model. And there is the evaluator. The evaluator is a function or a list of functions that will score the results. And then you have the interpretation. In this case, it's 100% because we consider that our model answered correctly. And so you can see here this screenshot of the score. This is a function. In that specific case, the answer can be right or can be wrong, but sometimes it's a bit more granular than this. Like there's some distance results, all kinds of things to evaluate the outcomes. And evals can be pretty complex, but this is also what makes them powerful. In terms of datasets, you can have manually created datasets. For example, the list of one question that you've seen in the previous screen. It can also be the examples or feedback from user logs. I think this part is very important. Or they can be LLM-generated examples. So you can ask any LLM to create a dataset for you for evals in a specific field, and the LLM will create the list for you. It can be a really good start, even if you want to adjust this list over time. For the evaluator, you can have LLM as judges, and this means that the answers from your model on the data sets will be evaluated by an LLM. Ideally, you want this LLM to be more advanced than the LLM you use behind your model. You can also have heuristics judges, and that's typically the function we've seen before. It's true or it's false. And this is the closest part compared to the unit tests. And it can also be a human. You can be the evaluator, and you can ask people to evaluate your model, as we've seen in the chatbot arena. There are different modes as well, and you can ask a lot of different tasks. It can be content generation, it can be code generation, and so on and so on. And then you get the results. There's plenty of solutions for evals. The ecosystem is maturing, so feel free to take a look at these tools, especially the documentation. I think you can learn a lot from taking a look at the documentation. You will better understand the concepts. You will see code snippets, and I think it will help you better understand what evals really are. Okay, now let's talk about this idea of vibe benchmarking. It's a very simple concept, which is all about measuring the human side of the benchmarks. What I mean is that if you're building an agent, if you're building an AI product, what really matters is that you should measure what people do with your product, and you should iterate accordingly. And to do so, you need both quantitative feedback and qualitative feedback, and you want to iterate accordingly by tweaking your system prompts, for example, or by using one model versus the other. These are some examples of quantitative metrics, and there's nothing new if you think about it. If you've worked in the web development space and so on, you might be used to product analytics. And that's really the same, but adapted to AI products. One metric I really like here is the error rate. If you're building a vibe coding tool, for example, you want to make sure that your agent does not break the app. And so measuring the error rate continuously is a really good way to eliminate all of these errors over time. But that's just one example behind of it. Then it's all about qualitative feedback. So the most important part here is to collect data early. You want to collect the traces, production logs, the chats of your users with your product. And then you want to pre-process this data set, especially if you have a voice product, for example, you want to have the transcripts, and then you want to analyze all of these results. And the analysis can be made manually, and that's completely fine, especially in the early days of your product. But as you move forward, you want to automate all of this with LLMs. And last but not least, you want to create actionable insights so you can iterate on your product. And maybe the ultimate workflow is what we just said. You measure, you iterate, but maybe you build an agent on top of your agent that measures and synthesizes all of this data and automatically iterate on your own system prompt. That would be the ultimate workflow. It's like the ultimate space, the ultimate step, but that's completely okay to not be there and to do things manually. So let's take a look at a real world example. And I'm very excited to share with you, and thank you for watching this video. You have the privilege of hearing of this new product that we've been building recently, which is Fimo.ai. It's an AI website builder. So over the past 10 years, we've been building Strapi. We've helped a lot of people building websites, and we've learned a lot along the journey. And our mission has always been to help as many people as possible. And thanks to AI, we think that we can do this by letting anyone with a computer writing a prompt and getting a fully featured website. So in this video, you can see that you can add real-time comments. Of course, you can get a website from a prompt. You can change the content. You can also change design, as you can see right here. And what's really different compared to the other AI website builders is that there is a CMS, like a full-featured CMS that comes with it. And so you can say, make the key features and the testimonials editable in the CMS. If you ask for a blog, for example, it will do it automatically for you. And now you can go in the content management part, and you can see that you can edit the testimonials. You can edit whatever you want. So for example, here we're editing the title of one of the person that edit the testimonial here, and boom, everything is up to date, and you can deploy this within the click. You also have a media library, everything you need. So it has been a lot of fun, but let's go back to our topic. We took a look at all of the benchmarks out there. They keep changing as new models are being rolled out. You can see that GPT-5 scores first here on coding average. This is not what we're using at the moment because we get better results from cloud models at the moment. But who knows? In a few months from now, we'll more likely use something else because things are changing so fast. And so that's really how we started. Instead of automating everything since day one, we just wrote a few prompts in a Notion document, and this is how we get started. And this is completely fine. So if you're building your own agent, your own product, don't overthink. Don't automate on day one. Just try things by yourself. And then what we've done is that we've set up monitoring very early. We decided to go with braintrust.dev, but you can use anything else. And storing all of these traces, all of these conversations early in the product really helped us to better understand what products are doing with the product and to iterate on our system prompts accordingly. As we move forward, we might go to multimodal to really have an anti-fragile architecture. So if one of the models is done, we can easily shift to another one. We see more and more AI gateways. Versal just released one, and there's a lot of solutions that you can use. And as we move forward, we also want to explore A/B testing to compare models in real time with real users. So on top of our evals that are still early, to be fully transparent, we want to see the results on user metrics to see if one LLM gives better results than another. And even on our own agents, we want to A/B test it in real time. So we're still early in our journey, and that's also what I want to share. We're learning as we move forward, and that's completely okay. So if you have an imposter syndrome and I'm building my product, but I don't use evals yet or whatever, it's fine. You will mature as the ecosystem does as you move forward. So my conclusion here is that usage is more important than benchmarks. You really want to take a look at what your users do with your product. Observability is key. That's the most important thing. So set up monitoring early, evaluate continuously, and iterate accordingly. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out at pierre@strapi.io.